Another week and another episode of Cole's Buckeye Corner. We are officially at week 11, down to the final three regular season games here of the Ohio State Buckeyes football season. So, three more episodes of the show upcoming before one more special show right before some maybe potential playoff games, hopefully college football playoff games for the Ohio State Buckeyes. But again, the 3 weeks upcoming, really important for their future chances of a national title this year. Of course, I'm your host, as always, Cole McDaniel here on Cole's Buckeye Corner, and this show is brought to you by Hinckley Roofing. Make sure you reach out to them, get some estimates, get some quotes on potential work that you need done on your roof, whether that's come springtime or whether that's here before we really get towards the really heavy winter season here. We're still in November, might have some nice days from time to time. See about what Hinckley Roofing can do for you before we hit the winter season. Well, let's jump right in here. Ohio State, they got another win. So perfect on the season. They sit at number one still in the rankings, beating Rutgers 35-16. That being said, they were trailing at half, and they did not play well offensively in that first half. Defense was fine. They were backed up at times in the deep part of their own field, and they managed to find ways to keep Rutgers to field goals. Rutgers continued to have to kick field goals and settle. In Ohio State, they were making the stands that they needed. Just on the other end, they weren't able to go down the field and then score to the level that they needed. They bounced back at half. They ended up coming up with a win. The offense played better. I'll talk about a guy who's been crucial for the offense. But of course, a big shout out to the defense, the Silver Bullets, Jim Knowles. They're the whole reason this team has been able to piece things together and be undefeated this season. They played great against Notre Dame. They played great against Penn State. They played very well against Rutgers as well. And of course, the big pick six by Hancock, courtesy of the Josh Proctor hit. That was really what sparked, I think, Ohio State in general, gave them some momentum as they took the lead on that massive pick six. Rutgers is a good team this year, though. That's a good win on the resume. And Ohio State's resume just got even better because of the win against Notre Dame and Penn State. And now you add Rutgers to the list. Wisconsin on the road's difficult as well. Michigan doesn't have that same resume to this point. Of course, they can potentially add to it this week and get their first signature win. And then you have Georgia that they maybe could potentially pull off their biggest signature win. So you have to play well, I think, coming into this week. And you're going up against a Michigan State team that has had their struggles this year. And as you can see, I'm wearing a hat that has to do with the lakes, and you can see Michigan up there. Has the green color, not the exact same green of the Spartans, but going up against Michigan State, who have 3 wins on the season, and they've struggled this year, especially because of the Mel Tucker situation. Last year wasn't great. They were good the year before, very good the year before with Kenneth Walker. And then once he was gone, they didn't have that rushing threat. And last year they went on a skid. But I think they would have been better than what they were, or at least are to this point, if Mel Tucker and that whole situation didn't happen. Of course, when you have to have somebody step up as really the interim head coach, and you have a team that's really trying to find a way to rebuild, find their identity, it makes life very difficult. It's a reason why Ohio State's over a 30-point favorite in this game, because they're expected to dominate, they're expected to win big. There's no reason why they shouldn't against this Spartans team. Have to say, before I talk a little bit about some of the players in this game upcoming, my prediction, the all-gray uniforms, extremely well done. Now, the traditionalists out there, they love the scarlet jerseys with the silver pants, those gray pants. And then, of course, on the road, then you get those same pants and the white tops. And the traditionalists, they love that. For me, I've liked that Ohio State started changing things up, because you have a program out like Oregon, right, who their Nike sponsorship and the affiliation that they have, they have feels like 50 combinations that they can do. It's so cool. Ohio State, when they've tried to branch out with some alternative new uniforms, there's been some big misses on some of the old throwbacks. I didn't necessarily really love the dark grays nearly as much as what we're about to see. Now, my favorites, I like the All Blacks. I like when they wear the all black with the black helmets. To me, looks so cool. And I know that it's not typical Ohio State, but I love every bit of it. And a dark night in the shoe, you can't go wrong with that either. This night game, though, not a dark night in the shoe. They are wearing gray, but it's that lighter gray that actually matches the typical helmet that they have. It's that silver color, and I really like it. It's almost a step up from white. It gives that light tone. The scarlet numerals, they really pop. I think the uniforms are going to look really clean out there on the field. And if they look great this weekend, which I think they will, they should maybe stick around for a long time. But I'm definitely here for the jerseys in this night game. Well, the biggest thing for the offense for Ohio State to get off to a hot start is keep feeding TreVeyon Henderson. I mentioned that Marvin Harrison Jr. is potentially in the Heisman race last week, but I want to talk about who's run the offense the last couple weeks. And that's been the big plays of TreVeyon Henderson since he's come back. He continues to gash teams with his speed, the way that once he finds a little bit of space and open field that he can turn on the jets and just burn guys down the field. That's the biggest difference maker, I think, right now for the Ohio State offense, because they can be sputtering and then he'll break off a big play, gash the defense, and then really swing some momentum. That way, maybe it opens up the passing game as they try to key on him. Henderson has been crucial, really a key for the team. He's balling out, but can he continue it? As long as he stays healthy, I think he does continue that against Michigan State. He's going to put probably up a good 100 plus yards again, maybe even 200 all-purpose yards between receiving and rushing as well. Going to be a big weekend for him, and I think it's going to be a big weekend for Ohio State in general, not with just the night game, the uniforms, Henderson, I think Harrison, obviously. Ohio State's going to win this game 42-10. That's my prediction here over Michigan State. They're going to be comfortable. It's going to be a rout, and they're going to feel good about the upcoming week against Minnesota. My must-watch 3. There are some really good games on the slate, and because of Ohio State, the fans have to wait around until the end of the day. Well, you get to watch a lot of other football throughout the rest of the afternoon, and we're going to start with number 1. Number 3, Michigan travels to number 10, Penn State. James Franklin has had his struggles against Michigan and Ohio State. He can't get over that hump. He's a good coach, not a great coach. He could maybe get into that conversation if he could string some big wins like those together. He just hasn't seemed to be able to do it on any sort of a consistent basis. Been looking up at those two programs for quite a few years now. If this was a night game and a whiteout, this would be incredible for Penn State. Of course, you remember the clip years ago, I'm sure, where it was so loud that on the opening play of the game offensively, Michigan had to burn a timeout or else they would have had a delay of the game because it was so loud in there and they just had some miscommunication. At noon, it's still going to be loud, good environment, but that probably actually plays into the hands of Michigan a little bit more. You're not going to have quite the same atmosphere. But I think Penn State still has a good shot. They have to let Aller loose. They have to open up that playbook. They have a good defense. I think I trust the offensive line. It's just a matter of let Aller do his thing. He's such a good player. They didn't let him do it against Ohio State. Do it against Michigan. And they have a chance here. But the Wolverines, they have something to prove. There's a lot circulating around them right now. And I think they have a chip on their shoulder. Maybe it could be a distraction, but I think more so than a distraction as of right now, I think it's motivation. And they have a good enough roster that I expect them to have a good opportunity to beat Penn State, but this could certainly be a toss-up depending upon how the game probably starts off in the first quarter. At number 2, number 18 Utah faces off against number 5 Washington, going on the road there, and that's a scrappy Utah Utes team up against that Huskies team that's been very good this year, still undefeated, just lurking outside that top 4. They're within striking distance. A win against Utah would give them a case to get up to that 4th spot, but unless one team falls there in the top 4, Utah's probably just going to continue to hover right around that spot, but they have potential to make it to the college football playoffs this year. This would be a signature win on their resume, but don't be surprised if the Utes give them a scare, if not pull off the upset, because they're scrappy, and I think they have the potential to make things interesting. At number 3, number 9 Ole Miss travels to number 2 Georgia, and as I mentioned before, this is a beatable Georgia team, but anytime they've played a big opponent this year, it's been at home, which helps them out. But Ole Miss, I think, is the toughest test they're going to see this year in Athens. So Ole Miss, the Rebels, could again make things interesting in that one as well. So ultimately, Ohio State has much better wins, a better resume than both Michigan and Georgia. Washington's is very close there with their resume, but they're just still a little bit behind there in how the committee views them. Thing is, Michigan and Georgia each have opportunities to pick up, as I mentioned, defining wins in their season that will significantly boost their resume. So, especially if those two win, you have to find a way to make things look pretty against Michigan State, get the offense rolling, and blow out your opponent. But a lot of good football this weekend. I'm looking forward to it. Hope you are as well. That's going to do it for this week. Of course, I'll be back for week 12. And as always, go Bucks.